What's up, y'all? I'm Hotep Dutch. Got in my paper ready and some tea. About to get into some topics. My topic for today is, are humans naturally violent? The majority of people would believe this to be an unfortunate truth. I'm here to challenge that thought. In this 13-minute video, I will address the misunderstandings that have caused us to believe that we are destructive creatures by nature. I will mention key questions that should get your common sense thinking working in attempts to persuade you to watch the full video. Would we be here if we were naturally violent? How do you feel after you hurt someone? How do you feel after you hurt someone that hurt you? If you are provoked, is the act of violence considered natural? How many people would kill an animal if they had to do it on a daily basis? Does selfishness make you violent? What do you consider a threat? Is destructive a better term for violence? What is having a temper? Are sexual desires and jealousy breeding grounds for violence? The reason I bring this up, because recently during my personal debates and discussions, this reasoning comes up as a defense as to why we need more government control, because we humans are naturally violent if left to our own devices. We've all heard this before. Or the reason why wars are inevitable and accepted as part of humanity is this whole tragic story about the duality of man. Well, I'm sick of hearing that excuse. So let's look at the term violence. What is it? Is there a specific gene in our DNA that is identified as triggering violence? Or is violence nothing more than a response to our environment? Where's the line between self-defense and violence? Is defending yourself resulting in injury of an assailant considered violence? Violence at its core meaning is the destruction of an object, whether living or not. Psychological violence also causes destruction and emotional damage. But the question is, are humans naturally violent? Do we naturally seek to destroy humans and other beings? Is killing for food considered violent? My common sense says no. Because if we did, none of us would be here. In fact, I think it's the opposite. We are today working more and more on how to become unnaturally violent. I think we're devolving in that sense. But let's continue with some facts. Hormones like oxytocin and testosterone have been blamed for increased aggressiveness. But these are also the same hormones responsible for things like love and fertility. Upon further research, it seems that the only roles these hormones have regarding violence is to increase or decrease its level. It's not what causes the actual violence. Meaning that on days that your testosterone or oxytocin levels are higher, and you're provoked, the chances are higher that you respond with violence. You'll note that in the chart above that humans aren't among the top 30 most murderous mammals. In fact, modern humans are far from it, with just 0.01% of our deaths caused by homicide. Here's what this study fails to mention. Most of the animal deaths are infanticides, meaning parents get rid of the undesired cubs. Us humans have developed a level of morality and civility, and for the most part, it's not an accepted practice. Is animal infanticide considered violence? See the problem with the word violence now. You can go many ways with that. Adult homicide versus infanticide. Human infanticide is socially and morally rejected in our society, right? One can understand why an animal would commit these same actions to their infants that human commits to adults, which is getting rid of a potential threat. If the animal perceives the infant to be a threat of itself or its group, then it may act on a case of self-defense or self-preservation. A few exceptions to animal homicides, mostly being the infanticide, are wolves, lions, hyenas, and chimpanzees. These are animals that also regularly kill other adults within their species. These are considered tournament species. We're also sort of tournament species. Evolved tournament species, I guess. The question should be really, are humans naturally destructive? Now, for those of you who've raised babies, did you see anything naturally destructive about that child? And for those of you who haven't, when you were a kid, when you had your first pet, did you want to hug it or throw it against the wall? It's just these common sense questions alone should be enough to be proof that we aren't violent creatures by nature. But some people these days need so-called peer-reviewed science to prove it. Because violence usually occurs after the detection of threat. Another common reaction we have after the detection of threat is retreat, which is where the term fight or flight comes from. Ask any random person what their preferred method is and they will tell you flight. Only when flight is not an option does the fight kick in. Aha, now we're getting somewhere. Violence occurs when the threat cannot be avoided. So is it natural? When does a person feel like someone else is a threat that cannot be avoided? Next topic, the us and the thems. We tend to group ourselves into us and them. Anytime you can call someone them instead of us, it's a potential threat to you. Maybe not this very moment, but when there's enough to go around for everybody. But when the shit hits the fan, it's us against them. So who is us to you and who are we to them, or however you want to freak that? But is this natural? If us avoids them, or even better, becomes us, do we still have a threat? Are we naturally looking for a fight? Can we not live without a them? Do we really need an arch enemy to thrive? And if we do, are all the laws of nature and inevitable death not enough of a threat for all of us to be us? Do we really need to wait until the aliens show up? Like the American President Ronald Reagan said. In humans, there's plenty of recorded acts of violence by seemingly unprovoked groups and individuals. One of the keys for survival for any species is cooperation. There's no way our ancestors, black, white, or blue, were violent creatures. Otherwise, we would have killed each other off a long time ago. And I'm not talking about the last 2,000 years. I'm talking about 50,000 years ago and beyond. If you look at the past 2,000 years, you might be convinced that we are a violent species. I may agree with you. I made a video which has statistics of all the war casualties from the year 1 after Christ till 2000 of now, so till 21 years ago. This video shows you a time accelerated statistical bar chart with all the major wars categorized by race, how I define it. It was 6 races. The link is below, check it out. These acts of violence on a mass scale were products of the elites of the times who were corrupted by power. In fact, in modern warfare, one of the army's biggest challenges is to convince their soldiers to kill and not retreat. So today, we, the people, are the army, are the soldiers. And the media is feeding you violence to convince you that this is normal. And now you're actually saying it. Humans are naturally violent. It's working. So I just want to get your common sense working. The real thing behind, this is for another video, but the real thing behind violence is pretty much culture. That's a whole nother video, like I said. Culture, your norms, your values, your principles, your ideals. These are the things you need to check. The quote is basically, a hungry man cannot trust another hungry man. All right, I'm Hotep Dutch. Peace out. Hotep.
We still have to serve for our people, We still have to love them. Because 2,000 years of, brainwash education, within 30 or 100 years could really change that, or 30 days, it's very hard. Look at news, because the media is very terrible, The media is very, come on, they can do anything they want. So we have to build a trust amongst our people. We don't trust each other, and it's very hard for a hungry man to trust another hungry man. And they keep us hungry.